Today we're going to be talking about a story that's been flying under the radar for the past 2 to 3 years, in my opinion. Not enough people are talking about this, and I'm not for nothing, but I mean, I kind of see why not many people are reading comic books these days. You can't blame them. Not many people are gonna want to read. It's a dying industry, if we're being honest, and that's a big two's fault. I'm not strictly blaming like Marvel and DC within the way I am. That's kind of their fault. They could be doing better things to advertise their things to other people, but instead they just kind of do things. Yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. But in my opinion, this one right here, Batman Dear Detective by Lee Bermejo. This story is more of a visual driven one. Not much dialogue is happening. Not much is really happening besides a letter that you're reading. It's to Batman, of course, and it's very open-ended. Not open-ended. That's not the right word. I would say it's very mysterious on who's writing the letter to him, but more or less, we read the letter, and as we go on, Batman does Batman. He gears up, goes out into the night, meets Commissioner Gordon, blah, 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 all that shit, right? Everything Batman does. There's nothing, literally nothing is out of the ordinary. No new villains are coming through. Like, as basically as basic as it sounds for Batman. It's just it. But the thing is, what makes this interesting is how Batman is going to do things. He's got to investigate this one murder. He's got to go find this kid. A lot of shit is happening, and it's making you believe that whoever is writing this letter is responsible for these things that he is doing in this story right now. Like literally fighting crime. Okay, keep this in mind: fighting crime. So, again, this story is it's not going to be very dialogue heavy. Like, we just went through a few scans already. You don't see chat bubbles above Batman's head. You don't see chat bubbles going anywhere to anybody. You understand what I'm saying? There is no real dialogue happening. And I understand that because the story is being told by way of the art. You know what I mean? It feels like this very old style, story. Like, the only thing that makes it, gives it some type of exposition, if you will, is the letter. But the letter isn't even telling you that, hey, he's doing this, or like, he's going to do this. It's not giving you any, real idea of what's going to happen in the story, or like, if there's going to be a climax. No, it's just, I'm making fun of you, you bitch ass motherfucker, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, that's what this letter is saying to him. You know what I mean? Like, this shit is being very mean. Just like everybody else that hates him, it's just being mean to him. But yeah, we go on, and as you can see, he's just going through, just going through the motions. Like, this motherfucker's already at Killer Croc. Like, you can't make this shit up. And again, it could go from like finding missing kids to solving murders, right, to fighting Killer Croc that fast. And whoever's writing this letter just don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, this shit again is just making fun of him. It's like, yo, do you really think you're making a difference? You're not. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna die, and it's not gonna matter in the end. You know what I'm saying? At some point you'll die, and it won't fucking matter. You know what I mean? Like, it's very interesting, to see my boy get, spat at like this. And it's like, you never really see this perspective often, because it's always, most of his stories are always told of him being the good guy, because, let's face it, he's a hero. You know what I'm saying? Some kids are going to be watching him. You're telling these kids that he is a hero. Yes, you're going to see him, in that type of light. This story is not for your young ones. This story is for me and you, my friend. I'm going to tell you this right now. This shit is not for the weak-hearted. I mean, you're not really going to see like blood and guts and titties and all that shit, but it's just like, it's very psychological, if you will. It lets you play in your head for a minute. Like, yo, who's writing this shit? Who's doing all these fucking things? Like, did he kidnap this kid? You know what I mean? Like, When I first read this story, all of these questions popped up in my head. I didn't know what the fuck was happening, but it was for good reason. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like it wants you. The story is supposed to make you feel that way. It's supposed to make you wonder who is doing this, who is writing this shit to him. You understand? And you would never guess. You would all be wrong if you did not read the story already. You would all be wrong. You know what I mean? Or if you already read a similar type of story, you might get it. But anyways, the point is, there's not many stories that are doing what Lee Bermejo and team did here in this one. And it's stunning. It's visually stunning. It's beautiful. I feel like we should get a lot more content like this, not just from Batman, because you can only do this like once. You know what I mean? So Batman's already done. I feel like we should go on with like definitely do something like Superman. You know what I mean? Like maybe not like Dear Blue Boy Scout or something like, but like something similar to where you have to like visually tell the story of Superman in these characters. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm pretty sure we have gotten these type of stories before with those other characters, but I feel like we need something new. You know what I'm saying? If that's the case, because these stories are flying under the radar, and I never understood. I never realized how much I like this type of content until I crossed this story. I'm not even gonna lie to you, because not many stories need this exposition or all of this dialogue to essentially be a great story. Some things just need to be shown, not told. Batman Dear Detective is a perfect fucking example of that, and I'm gonna reread this story all day long, every day. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of how I feel about it. Like, it's so real to the point to where I'll make a fan film of this. You know what I mean? If I were to ever so get the money, and I don't mean no cheap content shit. Like, I mean, grab like around $1 million, maybe $2 million type shit, and throw it into production, because this story deserves to be told. And I don't think that the current people at DC are capable of telling this story in the way that it's told with the same type of quality that Lee Bermejo was. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't think it's possible for them to do that. Maybe James Gunn could cook up some shit, but we got to see what his DCU looks like before we even start considering him for certain things. Right now, he's only done Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, and Creature Commandos. Only an episode or two of that. But other than that, I'm not going to, put cards on that and be like, yeah, do this. Hopefully you do this. Nah, let's wait and see him cook. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, I'm sorry, I just don't trust it. And as much as I love DC, as much as I love Batman, I just, it wouldn't be the same. It genuinely wouldn't be the same. You know what I mean? Like, that's another thing. And I feel like this story is probably only for the pages anyway. Probably you can't really get away with what was done here on an animated little short or a live action movie. No, sorry. But yeah, there's not really much more I could say about this story other than that, you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not reading this already. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's more of you would think it's a love letter to Batman. Strangely, it is, but at the same time, it's just for the fans, it is a love letter to Batman. Like, we don't just watch Batman for Batman. We watch it for, Gotham and its gutter universe inside of it, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? All the gutter shit that's all inside of that, scumbags, the blood, the horror. You know what I'm saying? Like, all that shit inside. That's kind of why we like Batman, because he's from that, and he deals with that. You know what I'm saying? That's like the one side of DC that is very much hell on earth. You know what I'm saying? What's the right word for it? What's the right word I'm looking for? I would say that is breeding grounds for an actual battleground. You know what I'm saying? Like Gotham, I feel like Gotham had a war fall on that shit. The way how everybody fights with each other and, just just bickers with each other and shit. It's actually pretty funny if you kind of think about it. But anyways, this story, if you would have thought whoever was writing this fucked up ass letter to Batman, was like Two-Face, Joker, Riddler, Harley Quinn, or fucking, no, even Catwoman. No, it's nobody that you would think. So if you already thought of somebody, nah, bro, it's not it. But basically, it's just shit with it. It's saying, hey, you're not really doing much. You're a fraud. You really think you're putting fear into these criminals? You're not. You know what I mean? Like, you take down one criminal, another one pops up. Like, none of this stops. Like, it's just mocking him and making fun of him, man. I feel like for the ones that don't like Batman, they should definitely pick up this book. Because, for the people that think, oh, but Batman isn't doing much for Gotham. He isn't really making a difference. This, that, and the third, yada, yada. Please go to the comic book store or, like, go somewhere. Find Batman Dear Detective and read it. I'm telling you this right now. You'll understand why I'm saying it. And then for those who love Batman and haven't read this book, read this book. And you'll understand what the other side is saying when it comes to people saying, Batman isn't making a difference in Gotham. You know what I'm saying? You can kind of understand what people are saying there. You know what I mean? And, everybody's got their opinions. I'm a big fan of Batman. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll tell you that Batman is one of the best heroes in the world. But at the end of the day, that's just my opinion. Is he perfect? No. Does he make mistakes? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, is he the best fighter? I mean, do you really want to ask me? Anyways, but the point is that this story kind of nails all of the talking points about Batman right on the head, and it also shows you, at the same time, he's not always going to be beat down. You can't beat Batman. That's the point of him. You know what I'm saying? You think you would have won, but you haven't. And that's kind of why he is one of the biggest influences, one of the best heroes, not only in just DC, but in comic books in general. Because he's just human like you and I. And we struggle. We go outside, we deal with shit. You know what I mean? And he does the same thing. How he looks right now, Bruce Wayne, he takes off his bat suit and that's what you see underneath. That's just his mask. He's really the bat behind him. You know what I'm saying? And, we kind of relate to that in some way. We feel like, we're not who we really are sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And then, like, when we are somewhere doing certain things, that's when we feel like ourselves. And that's Batman and Bruce Wayne. Let me read you something from one part of the damn book, right? Strange. Our lives have been connected for so long, but I still seem to elude you. It's as if we shared the same womb. Our mother, pain. Our father, violence. We are both products of fear and weakness. You want to feel the city's shadows wrap around you. Your light in the sky is a false sun. It only makes those shadows longer. This place will never be yours. You and your pig friends are delusional. I own Gotham. That's the end of that excerpt from right there. I was going to spoil it, but I'm not going to. Maybe in the future, maybe I'll say something more, but I want to leave it off as this. Please pick up this book. Do yourself a favor. Read this. I'm telling you this right now. You will not be disappointed. And if you are, I'm sorry. I genuinely believe this is one of DC's best books, DC's best stories told with not even much dialogue. Just a letter written to the world's greatest detective, calling him a sorry ass detective.